Welcome to the Honorable Mentions, the post-show for Madness where we talk about things that almost made it onto the bracket, as well as how the bracket played out itself. What do we think about what won, what lost, and what wasn't even given a chance? Let's find out, because this is Madness. Welcome to the post-show for the 90s cartoon Madness, where we're just going to chill out. We're going to talk about some of the matchups that happened, some of the ones that didn't happen, some of the shows that didn't make it. Anything sticking out in your brains, guys?
I wasn't on the first table, but being at this table seemed a lot different than watching you guys talk about that last stuff. Because there's
64 games?
Yeah, because there's so much more...
Are we more attractive in person?
Yeah, oh man.
It's actually nervous. It makes me nervous. I just don't know what to look at.
No, but really, like, it's... The shows are on the list for such different reasons. Like, especially because it's a voted list. You know, like the memes definitely were like a part of it. Like, but also just like things that you feel ought to be there, which was definitely pressure that I think we all felt a lot of the time. Like what we ought to be voting for sometimes.
I think I'd say that just real quick mention the shows that were just barely not. So how we handle the brackets here is we take 12 of the top 16. We decide we think that these would make the best.
That's your little editorial.
The top 16 of the results of a public poll that we posted on Twitter.
Yeah, they were all actually voted for the same reason.
You can vote on in the future if you go to
Twitter.com.
Twitter.com/normalboots.
If I'm not mistaken, I think like 8,500 people voted on this one.
That's
We
crazy.
need to make it 10,000 next time, guys.
How many shows are on the list to start?
Like 30 something?
Yeah, something like 30, 40.
So there's a lot of stuff left on the floor.
What got the most votes?
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
I don't think that's surprising. Yeah,
I would actually be very interested to see what the actual ranking was.
Number 2 was Dexter.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. We fucking on Dexter.
Dexter got put out to sea.
It had a rough go of it. It was Batman, bam, and then it was Ed, Ed, and Eddie, and
Batman was in like the top 5, to be fair.
Yeah,
like,
Rugrats was pretty hard there.
Yeah, the top ones were like SpongeBob, Dexter, Powerpuff Girls.
Arthur
barely made it.
Literally barely made it. It was 12th place.
Yeah, I know. That's all right. It's still better than that.
Some of the other ones that almost made it were Johnny Bravo, Recess.
Recess was.
It was down between X-Men and Recess, and we just decided
there needed to be at least one more superhero.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was the theme song.
What about like All Real Monsters or Angry Beavers?
It was like mid tier.
Yeah.
People voted for Angry Beavers, really?
I used to love Angry Beavers.
I loved it too, but I just thought it was like forgotten to history.
It was like the only cartoon my dad would watch with me for some reason. Yeah,
I love that Daggett.
Where's Doug?
Yeah, what happened to Doug?
Come on.
Doug was like
Doug was like in the late teens. It was pretty close.
That's crazy. I feel like back when I was actually in the 90s, like the big two went for me like on TV, and like just what we kids thought in my friends group was Doug and Rugrats were like the two big tent poles at the time.
Like I would come home from school and or maybe it'd be on Saturdays and it would just be Clarissa Explains It All, and I'd be like, I cannot stand this. And then after that would be like Eek the Cat or Doug or some.
Eek the Cat.
Yeah,
Holy
that's for a deep cut.
It's like Hi Garfield.
You know what I think would have been an interesting matchup that just never it didn't happen was Recess and something like Hey Arnold.
That's a tough call, man. That's
There's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah.
Recess is like a cross between Hey Arnold and Rugrats.
Yeah.
Recess it's weird. I used to really like that show, but I just would not watch it anymore.
It's like Hey Arnold if real life Hard Knocks were replaced with like Playground Rules. That's Recess.
Yeah.
What's the main guy's name? Mikey?
Mikey, I think, yeah.
I'm thinking it's Tommy, but
he's like
Francesca or something.
No, was it TJ?
TJ, yeah, maybe.
Wasn't that the show with like the kindergartners were basically Lord of the Flies?
Yes.
They had like a complete society.
Yeah, they had a king on the top of the jungle gym.
I love
there was a king in the playground and it was the most popular 6th grader.
Yeah.
Was he like, yes.
He had like a
Pass me the
hockey
peeled
puck and
grapes.
and like a football helmet that they'd carved into a crown.
Perfect.
I like I just sat up there all day. Like I wouldn't want to be king.
You got school, dude. You got to climb all
I
the way
think
down.
that was an episode they didn't want to be king anymore.
Yeah, it sounds familiar actually.
My favorite Recess character was Gretchen because she was the nerd.
Was she the one with the
Voiced by
baby
Ashley
glasses?
Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think honestly
Yeah,
the omission that hurts me the most personally is Rocko.
Rocko's great.
Rocko's
great.
So
Rocko-
I
good.
think that was like just outside of our audience's like
That's
Range.
what I'm
Yeah,
assuming. And like Ren and
people-
Stimpy, like
I
a lot of the
wonder-
shows I grew up with.
I wonder how much, like, actually Arthur and Magic School Bus are this popular, and how much was brought because you retweeted.
Arthur made
Arthur went up by like 4 slots after you retweeted the.
I thought about going like, guys, go vote for Arthur, but I was like, I can't.
Is there like an
it's
Arthur?
Meth-
Is there a name for like the Arthur community? Are they like the
Arthurians.
The Aardvarks? Are they like? Is there like a vibe?
Not that I know of.
Do you know any other like Arthur creators?
Arthur created.
Is there an Arthur con?
Yeah, they're like Arthur.
You know,
influencers.
I'm trying to think. Are there any other YouTubers that talk about Arthur?
I mean, there's plenty of guys that talk about cartoons in general.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I'm sure there are, but no, there's no one that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I actually think Magic School Bus is just actually a popular cartoon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I bet the reboot probably helped it too.
I would love
I think
to know,
everybody hated the reboot.
I would love to know the
It's like in the
age.
mic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe so.
I wish you could write. I wish in the poll you could write how old you are. I would be
Probably
very.
figure something about that later.
I would be very-
We're gonna get a bunch of stupid.
No, I know, but that's exactly what I'm saying.
Just toss it as an optional question if
Yeah,
you
maybe
want
just
to.
as a tick box, like age range.
Were
and,
you?
like-
Did you watch these? Like,
Were you alive in the 90s?
I'm so interested how much this bracket was influenced by people who actually watched these shows when they were on TV
Yeah.
in the 90s.
Yeah.
I doubt that it's as many. Of the 8,000, I can't imagine that it's that many. Just based on
But based on our audiences,
just the
and
age
stuff.
of the people
Yeah.
who watch.
and the shows that were and weren't
yeah,
high on the list.
Like another show that is very crazily not on here, and an entire company that is just not represented at all on this list is Disney.
Yeah.
It's crazy that there's
Tailspin,
no Disney.
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing
all
Duck,
of the adaptations of their movies, like Aladdin and Hercules, just
Little
not
Mermaid.
here. Is there a Little Mermaid
Yeah.
animated series?
Yeah, remember Flounder's like a big part of it.
That's right.
And
Was Rescue Rangers 80s or 90s?
It was 80s.
80s, but then also freaking Gargoyles, which is like the Batman of Disney.
Yeah, Gargoyles
Right, yeah.
is right under Batman for me, but obviously because they're very, very similar like concepts.
Sort of.
It's
Yeah.
it's
That would've
the
been a
best
fun matchup.
show that no one watched.
Gargoyles.
Nobody
That was like
watched.
one
I saw
season,
the
right?
advertisement for Gargoyles.
It's
was
3
like,
seasons.
3.
Yeah.
Go get pancakes.
And
for
real
Gargoyles.
talks, the Gargoyles Genesis game was the that was like one of those pre-rendered.
Hey, Gargoyles World and Kingdom Hearts win. Let's go.
Yeah, what the hell?
It's going to be every world.
How could you do this to us, Square Enix?
Take my obscure show from the 90s and make it.
Yeah, hashtag Gino for Smash. He's not coming, guys. Sorry.
Now all the kids are starting to like on anybody who's like, you know, they're like, you old man. It's like, shut
Yeah,
up.
what do you like?
I like it.
remember my Werther's originals too.
I will say about kind of going back to the show itself. I only had like maybe a week notice.
Thank you again, Barry.
I'm happy to be here, honestly. But I think it's something that we talked a bit about between episodes as well. That like it's a little bit harder to argue about stuff like this because like I grew up watching. I literally watched all of these shows on TV as a kid. There wasn't a single show I was like I never really saw that. It's like everything I watched at least a handful of episodes on. But I hadn't seen anything since then. So I just kind of came into this like, I'm going to ride on my nostalgia and just sort of argue from that position.
I thought that was an interesting perspective.
But I think it kind of hindered me. I couldn't jump into all these conversations because they would get into specifics, and I'm like, I just kind of remember flashing colors.
I think with this bracket compared to the N64 one, because there was less objective stuff to like talk about, we kind of had to set our own boundaries for like
We
what
had to
mattered.
create, like, based
Yeah.
off of this metric that I invented.
The Barry rule.
Yeah, like I'm the
It will
same way in
now,
this
from now
space.
on be called the Barry rule.
Like that was how I had to wrap my head around like how am I gonna
The Barry
choose
principle.
one over the other because it's not
There you go.
nothing's
The
objective.
Kramer clause.
Yeah,
the
with-
Kramer
with-
guy.
But with games, it's a lot. I mean, it's still subjective, but you can point to objective truths about the mechanics or the graphics or whatever you might.
And also, let's be real, we're f***ing video game people.
Yeah.
Like, we're all sitting here because of video games. It's not like I've seen plenty of all these shows because I'm old, and that's it. That's the only reason.
Yeah,
And you couldn't control what you watched back then. There weren't like
I didn't have cable.
channels and the internet the way
It
there
was a
is now.
big deal when we got Cartoon Network.
Yeah, like
I remember that vividly.
Like, it's so like if you actually lived through it, if you actually lived through the '90s and you were the one being marketed to, if you were the right age for it, you couldn't escape this cycle. You couldn't escape this. Like all the kids talked about the same stuff. Like now, it's so compartmentalized. Like you can go watch like this Netflix series that's like only you and a couple of other people watch, and it can be just for kids. Like there's so many places that you can go to watch shows, and that
There's
like,
so many more options, which is such a wonderful gift. And
Yeah,
I'm
but
very jealous of the newer generation.
But looking back, it's kind of weird to apply the same. Like, I didn't watch the shows that I watched because I liked them the most. It's because I watched them because they were on TV when I was watching TV.
You need something to do because you were done playing Dragon Quest or whatever.
Exactly. Right.
All the Cartoon Network and
Never be
Nickelodeon shows that I saw were just when I visited either my grandma's houses, because they always had cable. It was actually kind of difficult for me to jump in on some of the brackets because the two things that I knew the most about, Magic School Bus and Arthur, were just like, I'm sort of like, okay, well, my expertise is now no longer needed here.
Kind of talk about Courage for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know about Courage a little bit.
It was good. Yeah.
I think having this variety of perspectives really worked.
I was going to say, like, having going on nostalgia, then going on a little bit of watching it before we started, like, having those viewpoints
going off of watching the entire thing.
Yeah.
Having
left hazy memories of watching all of this at 3 a.m.
having less knowledge or like less specific things that I knew for sure I liked in this one made it almost a little more challenging, but also kind of more fun in a little bit.
It seemed like you were pretty open to being convinced of things.
Yeah, that was the advantage. I wasn't like planting my feet in the sand saying like, this is where I am. It's like, well, I feel this way right now, but like my opinion was changed many times over the course of these conversations.
Yeah, I think especially in like the Hey Arnold Rugrats one, I was like going a little bit.
That was a hard one.
Even though I ended up picking Rugrats, I was still like.
I mean, we joked before that one. That was like, all right, we're doing Rugrats versus Batman, and it didn't happen.
I voted for Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yeah,
I genuinely thought Ed and Eddy was like gonna go to the second round, and I was gonna have to like choose between Batman, SpongeBob.
I
and Ed
stand
and
by
Eddy.
my vote, but I was very surprised that Magic School Bus eked out a win there.
Yeah.
I was incredibly surprised that Magic School Bus made it and Arthur didn't, especially after we had been watching the X-Men and you guys were like, this is not nearly as good as I thought.
Arthur is better than the Magic School Bus.
Arthur is better than Magic School
It's
Bus.
better than X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or no, X-Men's better than Arthur.
Yeah, X-Men's way better than
Apparently.
What was a matchup in here that you got? What was the hardest one for you guys?
Hey
Hardest
Arnold
one?
and what was it? Powerpuff Girls and
And Ed, Edd and Eddy.
SpongeBob.
Yeah,
that was the first one.
SpongeBob and Powerpuff Girls was like tough because those are both shows that I'm like far enough away from that I'm not like, no, my show SpongeBob or no, my show. But I recognize the immense legacy that both of those shows have.
I think Animaniacs and Hey Arnold was rough for me.
That was a rough one.
Because we kept having these themes of like, one's maybe funnier or better, and the other one is like more valuable. It's a culture.
It was a funny thing.
It matters. It belongs in a museum.
It's funny that
dot dies.
that matters a lot more in this case because like with the video games, it's like we know it a lot better. We're much more inside the bubble on games. Like, you know, Ocarina of Time versus Mario 64 is like
Spoilers.
whatever, dude. We're at the end of season 2 now.
I think everyone saw that one coming.
Yeah. But I mean, like, there's so much more like common between them. Like,
This one was
there's a
more
foundation
unpredictable.
you can build off of. It's like they're both games made by Nintendo around the same time.
yeah,
I think
The genres are different, but you can sort of.
they were even started on the same engine.
Yeah, they were.
I would
believe
never, never like be like, but what about Mario's missing? We need to teach our kids, but like
Mario teaches typing.
But yeah, but it's just because TV's been around.
That's also a bad educational
It's
game.
true.
not
It's
a good-
true. But I mean, Magic School Bus isn't that good. as a show.
It's better as a cartoon than
I'm with
Mario
you.
teaches.
Yeah, I'm with
I
you.
think the
I'm with
point
you.
you were getting at was that games are such a new medium and animation like this.
All the
it's
games are so much more
old.
Yeah,
that
all the games
they're-
are so much more similar.
There's a built-in, like they can do more differently.
Yeah, like
And-
everybody knows what TV is. If you're 100 years old, you know what TV is. If you're 20 years old, if you're 5 years old, you know what TV is. So it's
Yeah, your phone.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot harder to. It's a lot harder to be like, yeah, this is an educational show. What does that matter? Mm-hmm. Because now that I'm an adult, I'm like, no, like being smart matters. Like, you know, I feel like even though Magic School Bus like kind of isn't the best show,
There's value.
There is value, and we started to find that with Arthur, and like it started to seep into Hey Arnold. It's like Hey Arnold's not even a show that was state funded or anything like that, but it
It was made for entertainment.
but the way
It was
that
much
it
deeper than that. It taught social lessons.
Something we said about Arnold as a character was that it was very emotionally intelligent, and that comes from
Morally centered.
That comes from the artist wanting to do something great with their work, not like the Magic School Bus or Arthur, which are both good, but state funded.
Yeah.
They kind of have the moral code.
I think you guys are shitting on Arthur a little
I'm
too
real-
much.
I'm not
but-
trying to shit on Arthur.
I tried to shut my mouth during a lot of it. But you kept bringing out like Arthur's more just this show where you teach them. I'm just like no.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not trying.
mandated Hey Arnold to be
Yeah, I'm not trying to.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
I just feel like
Hey Arnold was like that because they chose for it to be like that.
Arthur, I mean, you're insinuating that Arthur is the way it was because it was state funded. I think that's BS. That's
but definitely it was. Like the reason that it's like lessons, the
I
reason
mean, it
it's
was
like,
originally a book. They made it off of a book that already existed.
right.
But they're like,
they-
this works well with
It wasn't like the
PBS
government was
kinda.
like, Arthur has to be this way. Like that.
But yes, they did. Yes, that's why it exists.
I think
like,
it was probably-
all
I
exists
I think
to
it was
be
more like
wholesome education.
here's a
There
good
was
pitch.
creative choices made by the creative. I think you guys are just not giving the creators of these shows enough
I'm
credit.
not trying to say Arthur's a bad show at all. I'm just saying if you're a kid and you're looking
I didn't say
at,
that you were saying that. I said you guys are saying it's made the way it is
Yeah,
because
Arthur
it's publicly
wasn't
funded.
tailored to fit PBS. Arthur already fit PBS.
right, and then
Yeah, they
PBS
just slotted
was like,
it in.
this would be a great way to teach kids things on television, so
Yeah.
let's pay to make Arthur. I'm not. It
But
wasn't
they
a
didn't.
comedy show.
They weren't part of the creative team.
No, it's not like that. I'm just saying like Arthur was made into a cartoon for a different
Al Gore
reason.
going over scripts.
Yeah, like-
even though
I
that's
don't know.
true, if it didn't deliver, they would have stopped the funding for it.
Yeah, it's the same thing that we're talking about with Courage, where we're saying there's no red tape here. This is like a creator-driven show.
But that's actually part of what I like about Arthur is it feels like there wasn't red tape to it. They just did whatever they wanted to do. So I'm just saying I don't think that there's as much to that as you guys are saying. I mean, maybe you're right. It's hard to really say.
Well,
for sure.
where I was headed with it, Arthur's path to television is a age-old one. Like, a long time, the government and state-funded agencies have been paying for children's entertainment that's wholesome and good. And then from the other side of things, we get the sort of just like money-grubbing, cheap sort of kids cartoons that are like the ones that cause your parents to be like, don't watch cartoons. That's shit for your brain. It rots your brain. And the thing that's cool about Hey Arnold is that Hey Arnold's from a type of person who grew up in a place where there were shows like Arthur and there were shows like what's it called?
Sesame Street.
Well, like a more slapstick show, like a Top Cat or like a
And Ed and Eddie.
Ed and Eddie. Yeah, something. Well, even Ed and Eddie's has more heart than these shows. But like just some crappy old cartoon where people get beat up and like there's no extra value to it. Just
like Scooby Doo or something.
yeah, like a
Flintstones,
crass.
they were whacking each
Like
other
a
over the head.
crass, like a crass, cheaply made show.
Yeah.
Like those are the kind of like two paths to cartoons before the '90s, which I feel like in '80s sort of '80s kind of like was very crass, and then like heart blossomed out of it. But in the '90s, cartoons really grew up as a thing.
Yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, it's sort of like how you're kind of a product. You have to be kind of fit the network that you're on, and it's like South Park jump into Comedy Central.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay,
It's
well,
free
we
now.
can do a little bit more than we could before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. I guess I took personal emotional offense to the
I feel it,
suggestion
yeah.
that there wasn't creative freedom in the Arthur.
Which there
like-
was. No,
Yeah.
there totally was. Arthur Stands as a show. Jekyll, Jekyll, Hyde, Jekyll, Hyde. I literally sang that. I literally sang that to my brother for 3 years. He like has hit me in the face with his full strength to stop me from singing that song
That's the
before. in my
power
life.
of Arthur right
Yeah,
there. Bringing
but I
people
just
together.
Think, I
The
just think
fist
it's.
meme is real.
I just think it's
He
amazing.
learned it from Arthur.
We're running out of time. Does anyone have any closing thoughts they want to?
I'm sad Arthur
Lay
didn't
down.
win a single fight. But
sorry, man.
That's all I wanted. I just wanted one. I thought it would beat X-Men.
I'm sorry,
but-
man.
Magic School Bus
so did I.
made it.
That there's I screw Magic School Bus. I mean, I like Magic School Bus, but
It would have been better if something justly won a fight, though.
I feel like Ed and Eddie actually should have beaten
Nah.
Magic, even though I voted for it.
I mean, for me, in hindsight, I wish I had more time to watch at least one episode from each show to kind of jog my memory a bit more, because the way I like to argue is by pointing to specific examples
Yeah.
to be like, I'm backing my argument with XYZ, rather than like, I feel this way. I don't have a strong footing there.
Yeah.
So I think I wasn't able to really swing for the fences as much.
I feel
as
like I
would've.
couldn't defend Arthur and Magic School Bus as well as I thought, because I actually was like, oh, I know those. I'll watch some of the other shows, and like that way I can have more specific examples. And then when it came down to like, shoot, what's a good Arthur example? I'm like, on the
it's good.
spot, I
It's
can't
just
think of
good.
it.
Yeah.
Gotta do your homework, kids. And if it's something to do with cartoons anyway, otherwise
Yeah.
probably don't bother.
The best kind of homework.
Yeah.
Shane, you got anything?
Nope.
Alex, got anything?
I'm very content.
Just remember that the only difference between your opinion and our opinion is that we recorded ours and put it on the internet and you're watching it, and that there's no consequence to this competition / not real competition.
All the loser brackets are being erased from history as we speak.
That's what I like about Madness so far, is that it really is it's what just happens in the moment. Because like literally the next day I'm like, why did I vote for Magic School Bus over Ed and Eddie? Like, but in the heat of the moment we're like, well,
More than one.
the Barry principle. I mean,
More than one.
yeah.
You're sending into a black hole.
More than once we basically what happened was we're sleeping in the same room and I like roll over and you're on the couch across the room and we're like, fucking X-Men, man. Why?
Yeah.
But just remember that when you're yelling about this online, that like we're just as stupid as you guys are.
Yeah.
You
This
know?
is kind of just like a tug of war where we'll just kind of recontextualize things to like try and convince the other person the show that we want to win.
It's like a tug of war in a circle because we all agree with each other.
We all know Batman's the best show.
I actually did not think Batman would win, especially when we first started.
I had a hunch.
I felt like
I had a hunch, breakfast, dinner, and lunch.
Is that Arthur?
Yes. Would be so fun to munch if I had it with crunch. Mm-hmm. We done?
Destroy this. We're done. What do you think should have won this season of Madness? Let us know down below. And if you liked this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Madness coming really soon. The next season is on PS1 games, and we have a special surprise for those who watch from the beginning.